Where are we next? Beautiful. This is one of my favorites. My favorites of all time. In the last 3 CEU cycles, I'm going to toot my own horn here. So in the last 9 years, when I sit down to do my CEUs, I go from memory. I don't pull out my book. I go from memory, okay? And there hasn't been a time in the last 3 cycles that I haven't had, at least 500 credits, minimum. And that's before going, like I don't go to my book then to pull out the other stuff that I've done. You know, yeah, I do my articles for my power, what are they called? There you go. Okay, from the CMTO. I do those articles, but all the other stuff that I've done. Yes, I have an advantage because I teach acupuncture, but it doesn't always count. You have to be teaching new things. Once you create a course, you can count those hours, but then you can't count it again each year. So I do things that are way outside the box. I think we are really remiss if we only study anatomy, neurology, pathology, physiology. If you only do one side of the pillar, that's great. The house might lean a bit. So the other side is what I call personal and professional development. Okay, so sometimes as soon as you say that, people think, oh, Tony Robbins, he's too much, man. He was everywhere in the 80s. I don't want to do karate. I don't want to fly a helicopter. His head's too big. Just freaks me out, man. All right? Okay, well then I give you Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart's giving you the same message in a slightly different way. Byron Katie, Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer. They are all giving you the same message in a slightly different way. So find out who vibrates with you. Because every one of you will tell me there's a certain type of music you don't like listening to. It's like nails in the chalkboard. You know, I hate classic rock. What is that dance music? It just sounds like noise to me. Where somebody else goes ripping by. They've got their headphones on and they're just in another world. To you, it would be horrible. It would be the worst. It'd be almost like torture. So you have to figure out who resonates with you, and that takes some time. Because if you go to the self-help book section and chapters, if you could just sit there for a week, and they would bring you coffee and tea and get a little back rub. If you start reading all the books, you're going to find it's a common thread. Figure out what you want, go get it. That's all it's going to be. All right, Eckhart obviously takes you on a much more scenic journey. It's like taking a train through the mountains versus just flying over them. So whatever works for you, but I found that it's elevated my practice. It's changed the way that I do things. It's allowed me to raise prices. I'm not ridiculous, but for the city of Guelph, I was a little high for a while. But the only person that you have to convince in life of anything, and man, they're like the wiliest rascal ever. When you go into the bathroom in the morning and you brush your teeth, that person in the mirror, they're the worst. You know why? Because they've got all the excuses for you. You know what the worst excuse for not doing something in life is? It's always the best excuse. My kids, my wife, my friends. When I was taking osteopathy, well, before I started taking osteopathy, if you ever come over to the house for dinner, or my wife's at a conference, please don't bring it up. Let me do it on my own terms. Osteopathic training for me started in 2001, and we were going to be starting on Thursday the 13th of September 2001. A couple of doctors were going to come up from the States and teach us our first 4-day weekend. Well, my youngest daughter, decided to come into the world on September 8th, 2001. And the midwives decided that they were going to show up late. So my wife and I actually got to deliver our daughter. Well, she delivered, I caught. So it was nice that, thank you. In massage school, I had worked in a birthing unit. I think it was at the Women's College Hospital. Of course, everybody looked at me like, okay, great. Another man. What are you taking now? And I said, no, I'm just here to learn. Just here to learn. So I got to see all the different births under the sun. I got to be present for a couple. So I knew what I was looking for, but there we were. Beautiful baby girl, September 8th, 2001. Well, we all know what happened 3 days later. We were enjoying ourselves. My son is 18 months old. My stepdaughter was 5. Here's this little baby, blue sky, beautiful. Phone rings, turn on the TV. So we turn on the TV, you know, madness. So my mind goes to, well, first of all, I've got a brand new baby and an 18-month-old and a 5-year-old, and I'm supposed to be starting osteopathic school on Thursday. So I called my friend Michael and I said, what's going on? He said, well, they're coming. They don't know how they're going to get here, but they're coming. So these osteopaths left their families, they had young families, drove from Philadelphia. They were 14 hours at the border on the Wednesday, but they showed up to teach us on Thursday. And they said they were going to be there. And I said to my wife, I'm really sorry. I kind of have to go to Hamilton for osteopathic training. And she said, what are you talking about? And I said, well, they came all the way. Like, I know Emma's just born, but my mother-in-law was in town, so I'm not a complete heel. But I had to go because these guys had left their family, so I went. They made the sacrifice, so I was going to make the sacrifice. During my osteopathic training, as I just told you, my family was young, so I was doing a lot of the work, and we didn't have tons of money. And part of my osteopathic training was after my second year, I had to go to the States and do internships. It's a big deal. So I remember the first time I went, I had just enough money for gas to get down there and back and a little bit of food. So you know where I stayed? I stayed in between interstates at a gas station / truck stop. Restful sleep? No. But that's what I had to do. I didn't tell my wife. I just said, yeah, we got enough money to do it. But I went down and that's where I stayed. I'm sure if I had told my mentor I was staying with, he would have helped me out, but I was a little too embarrassed to tell him I didn't have a whole lot of money. But that's what I did. I'm not suggesting you have to do that to learn osteopathy, okay? I'm sure if the college was still here, they would tell you you don't have to do that. They have a school in Toronto. But through the education, through going after your goals, through going after the why, you don't have to make that big a sacrifice. I don't want to scare you, but you kind of have to decide what you're going to give up and what you're willing to do to get where you need to go.